Hi everyone and welcome to today's Chrissy B show, and I'm your host, Chrissy B. Now, we all have to make several decisions, often on a daily basis. Some decisions are relatively straightforward, such as what to wear and what to have for lunch. And others need a lot more thought, such as which university to go to or what jobs to apply for. And then there are those decisions which are really hard to make and are more of a dilemma where we need to choose between two or more alternatives, all with life-changing consequences. You've probably been in this situation at least once in your life. My real-life story guest today was faced with the opportunity for voluntary redundancy, and he had to decide whether to take it and work for himself or play it safe. Nigel Richardson will be telling us all about what impact his decision had on his life and on those around him. To talk about dilemmas and decision-making in more detail is our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang, in this week's Psychology Matters segment. And news correspondent Helena Chard has picked out some positive news pieces to share with us in this week's A Helping of Happy. And another area where decisions often have to be made is in our health. So we have on Dr Rob Hicks to answer all your medical questions, fitness expert Natalia Kotoska with another great workout, and nutritionist Severine Menem will talk about 5 healthy habits that you should adopt when deciding to take better care of your health. And she also will be answering your nutritional questions and putting a healthy recipe together. So let's get started with our real-life story guest, Nigel Richardson. Welcome to the show, Nigel.
Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. So tell us, what is Secret Hamper?
Well, Secret Hamper was born out of a desire to help others embrace their inner superhero and perform a random act of kindness.
Wonderful.
So,
now tell us, before you actually started Secret Hamper, what were you doing before?
I worked in the city, worked in the money markets for many years, and it just became apparent that I needed to do something else.
Were you enjoying it at the time when you first started?
Oh, absolutely. And back in the early days, it was a fantastic job, and I've got nothing but praise for the companies that I worked for. I had some amazing experiences and met some fantastic people. But just deep down inside, I knew there was something missing, and I just needed to. There was something else that I needed to fulfil, and I didn't really know what that was, but I did know that it wasn't really in that industry anymore.
Okay.
And so I've been putting it off for a number of years. And,
but it's always there. It was something that you wanted to take the plunge and do something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you actually make the decision? What was it that happened that kind of prompted this?
There was a few triggers really. One was when I lost my dad after a very short illness. It really sort of knocked me for 6, and I sort of questioned our sort of mortality and stuff like that, and how quickly things can change. And shortly after that, my wife fell pregnant, and we had our first child, and so that kind of went on hold, and it went on from there, kind of thing. And I was always sort of revisiting it, but I never really had the sort of guts to do anything about it. And then one particular day, I just had so many had enough of being stuck in traffic. So I used to drive into work, and that was my choice. But I just enjoyed, getting up really early and getting in. But on the way home, I was just like stuck in traffic, and it's just, it was enough, and an opportunity came along for voluntary redundancy. I spoke about it with my wife, and I said, look, it's now or never. And it wasn't ideal because 3 young children, a mortgage, and it's like, well, what do you do? But
it's scary.
It was very scary, yeah. I mean, on the outside, I had a sort of nice, sort of calm persona and looked fantastic. This was going to go and take on the world. But really, inside, I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because I dug out my CV, and it looked really old. And in the industry I was in, you just sort of went from different firm to different firms, so you didn't really need a CV. It was depending on what your client list looked like, really. So when I dug the CV out, it was, I had it professionally done, and sent it out, and wasn't really getting much back. And it was dawning on me that, it's like, if I'm going to do something, it's going to have to be from me.
For yourself,
I'm going to have to do it for myself. So I looked at franchises and stuff like that. Couldn't really find anything that ticked the boxes. And then bizarrely, during that summer, I'd gone around and done a bit of community work in our local village, and come across this old guy that was on his own, and I was supposed to just literally go and ask him a few questions about our local church rooms that we're trying to get some lottery funding for, and end up spending my entire afternoon around there because he'd lost his wife and was quite lonely and stuff. So that sort of stuck with me a bit, and it kind of reminded me of my dad a little bit as well, really. And then a few months later, still no job, panicking big time, and thinking, what on earth am I going to do? And I was watching the TV, and there's an advert for the Co-op came up, and it was where the young guy goes to the fridge, opens it up, and there's no ice for this party they're supposed to be having. He goes out and he sees his elderly neighbour come out with his shopper on wheels, and they start playing the bolero music. And the old guy goes back in because the pavement's all iced over.
Yeah.
And the next scene sees a youngster in there in the Co-op, you know, putting a bag of groceries together and leaves it on the guy's doorstep. Yeah. And that immediately took me back. It resonated with me, and it took me back to the summer and that guy that I'd met. So I just literally picked up my coat, jumped in the car, went to the local supermarket, filled up a bag of goodies, went round to his house, and as I got out of the car, I noticed the clock, and it was 22:12. And it was absolutely chucking it down with rain. And I got out, I got absolutely soaked, but I just left this bag of groceries on his doorstep, rung the bell, and jumped back in the car. Yeah, legged it basically, in the car, back home. Went home, and my wife said, where have you been? I said, I've just done this thing. I don't know what it is, but I feel alive. I feel like I've got a purpose. And I want to share that feeling that I've got with other people.
And is that where Secret Hamper was actually born from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I scribbled down some, and because it was Christmas time and there's lots of talk about secret Santas, I thought, why couldn't you have a secret hamper that you could, you know, send to people if you wanted to anonymously? And, you know, because, you know, lots of people suffer in silence, circumstances change, you might have family rifts and all sorts of things, that something as simple as a box of goodies could be an icebreaker. And not only that, has a ripple effect. I mean, since we've started, I mean, we've sort of gone off on so many different tangents, and different things have happened. It's been, you know, quite an amazing journey so far.
What have been some of your highlights?
Being chosen by Theo Papitis as one of his Small Business Sunday winners, and getting him to buy some hampers that we sent into a children's hospice, which was truly amazing. We've also been chosen as a Small Business Saturday 100 business. So we was one of 3 Essex businesses last year to be a part of that, and we went to number 10. So that was really cool. So that was amazing. Also connecting with Jason Vowell recently on Twitter, and we're going to be featured in his new book that's coming out, Create Magic, which is truly amazing. That is just magic in itself. And I hope we're going to be working with Jason in the future. We've got we've done some fundraising over the last couple of years. We've raised over £10,000 for a local charity, where we've got local businesses to sponsor a space on the side of our van for £50. That went to the charity, and we drive around in our van everywhere, and we're advertising other businesses. So we're trying to have that sort of caring and sharing ethos for everything that we do. And we saw a TV programme just recently about the 70th anniversary of the NHS. And, you know, bearing in mind, you know, obviously what my dad went through and the care that he received. All our children were obviously born then. The last 2 children, well, Harry predominantly, was, you know, it was an emergency birth at the end. And if it wasn't for the skill and the expertise of the staff, that, you know, even my wife or Harry might not be here today. So I thought we need to do something for these guys, the unsung heroes, because they don't do that job for the money, you know. And we all use them, you know, and it's just such an important part of our institution, if you like. So we put this idea out on our social media, that we were looking for 70 local businesses to sponsor a hamper for £70. And we'd send it into, once we got the 70 sponsors, we'd send in 70 boxes to Broomfield Hospital, our local hospital, that will be shared. Honestly, it was truly amazing. The places got taken up within 2 weeks. We built all these boxes, we used locally sourced products, and we took all these boxes into the hospital. We allowed, you know, some people nominated certain wards they wanted to go to. You know, everyone from the porting staff to the offices that never get any recognition, up to the top surgeons, they all receive something. And so literally probably over 2,500 staff members would have received a show of appreciation from the public or the business sector, if you like. And it was just truly amazing. The mayor turned up. It was crazy.
But you can see the way you're speaking about it, that you absolutely love what you do.
And it was just that thing, you know, it's just, you know, we live in a world today and there's so much uncertainty, and there must be lots of people like me that are going through the motions, if you like, when I was at work. And, you know, I'd arrive at work some days and not know how I got there, kind of thing, and maybe even do a complete day's work and think, what happened there, kind of thing. But now each day is so different, you know, it's just changed. We've got now 15 other hospitals on the go, around the country, from as far north as Newcastle all the way down to Plymouth, where we've got not that many at the moment, 2 or 3, maybe a maximum of 5 sponsors per hospital. But as momentum builds and word gets out, I'm sure that, you know, we've even been speaking to a few businesses that want to actually buy 70 hampers on their own and nominate a local hospital to their headquarters. So, I mean, it's quite a powerful thing, you know, and, you know, it's just, you know, the response, we were getting emails from various different staff members at the hospital, and the chairman, Nick Alston, sent us a lovely video as well of, you know, just saying it was so nice for people that give care to receive care back themselves. So
that is so. It just everyone likes to feel appreciated, don't
absolutely.
they? Sometimes people they don't even get a thank you because people are so wrapped up in their own problems. And sometimes if someone's ill and they don't really sort of say thank you sometimes. But to actually have that you know, appreciation shown to them must be brilliant.
And we've got, you know, so many lovely stories. We had an elderly lady that was in a care home, and we'd do like a care home hamper that's just literally full of cake and biscuits. But we can actually add a nostalgic CD to that as well, so that really helps people with dementia. And one of the care homes we went into, they used that as a raffle prize, and the lady that won it was a recent new resident to that particular home, and she was like scared and intimidated and you know, was quite lonely, but she used that box of cake and biscuits as a tool to make new friends, and she actually said it was like the gift that kept giving, and she just made all these new friends. I mean, again, that's that ripple effect coming through, because you know, it's just, and you wouldn't think that would happen just from a box of cake and biscuits, but that's the magic. You know,
the thought behind it and the care behind it.
It is, because you know, when someone comes to us and they use Secret Hamper, they're not just buying, you know, a box of goods, they're actually buying an experience, because we want people to experience what, you know, I felt and have, you know, that warm fuzzy feeling inside. And it just has, you know, it just goes on. You know, it's just, and there's so many things and places we want to go with it. It's really exciting. I mean,
that's why we're going to have you back, Nigel.
I think so. Yes, you know, I think so. Yes,
because we've got just to tell us about the updates and stuff, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more.
We've got a few more coming up. Yes, most definitely.
just one other question, Nigel, before you go. For someone that is kind of a bit scared to make a decision, maybe they're feeling now what you used to feel, like, oh, you know, okay, it was good for a while, but something's missing from you know, their work, and they're not really enjoying it. There's something not quite there. What advice would you give to them? I
think you need to find your passion, and it's a bit of a cliche, but make it happen, as it says in the song, because I think if you're passionate about something, it will get you through those, you know, hard, tough days, because don't get me wrong, it's not all a bed of roses starting a business, and it's a massive roller coaster ride of emotions. And you know, one minute you're up there, the next minute you're right through the floor, and you know, there's no way, you know, that we know really. I mean, hopefully we'll be a success, but I'm sure there's...
Well, you are already.
Yeah, well, thank you. But hopefully there's, you know, I'm sure there's going to be things come up and obstacles along the way. But, you know, we just, every time we get an order through or something, and we can see where that's going and what a difference it's going to make. And, you know, we've got this goal now to get 70 hospitals done around the UK by July next year, and that's my focus at the moment.
You're going to make it.
But I'm sure we will.
Beautiful, wonderful idea. I absolutely love it. Love
thank you so much.
It.
That's
Nigel,
brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you again very soon, because
I look forward to it. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, after the break, to talk about dilemmas and decision-making in more detail is our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang, in this week's Psychology Matters segment. And news correspondent Helena Chard has picked out some positive news pieces to share with us in this week's A Helping of Happy. So don't go away. Welcome back, everybody, to today's Chrissy B Show. We are speaking about what to do when faced with a dilemma, and we have on today our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
So decision-making, dilemmas, very difficult sometimes to make certain decisions. But can you tell us about the psychology behind decision-making, first of all?
Yes, one thing very interesting about decision-making is if you go and look it up, because now there's a help guide for everything, people put it together with problem-solving. And decision-making and problem-solving are not the same thing. When you're making a decision, you are weighing up a number of options, but you cannot predict what the outcome's going to be. When you're trying to solve a problem, you know what you want the outcome to be, and you're trying to chart a path in order to get it. The thing to remember with decision-making is you cannot always predict the way it's going to go.
Exactly.
So that's the first thing. The other thing is we have a lot of biases when it comes to decision-making, and we don't always realise this. We may think we're very rational human beings, but we don't realise how much our emotion can affect the decision. And a writer called Haidt wrote about this and gave a beautiful analogy. He said to think about the rational mind a bit like an elephant, a very big, moving creature. And once you've weighed up the ideas, you are going in a certain path. But he said sometimes the elephant has a rider, and even though the rider is carried by the elephant to some extent, if you think of the rider as emotion, the rider will lean. And if the rider leans, the elephant will be influenced in some way. So we need to be aware of how much our emotion actually is affecting that decision.
Exactly.
And that's something that we're not always very good at because we often want a certain thing to happen, but as I said, you can't always predict the outcome.
Definitely not. And why do you think it is that some people are so indecisive?
Fear is often a big thing. It may be you've made a decision once and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, and then you just think, well, I'm not doing that ever again. The other fear is actually not wanting to cause conflict by saying, I choose this in case somebody else chooses something different. And it may be because you've never learnt to actually realise what you want, much less voice that that's what you want. Or it might be that you feel a slight imbalance in power in that relationship. When somebody feels subservient to someone else, it's very easy to say, you choose, I don't mind. And often, if that imbalance is only perceived and not actually real, the other person wants you to make that decision because what they want to do is do something for you, even if they don't want to do it. So it does tend to be fear that paralyses us a lot of the time when it comes to decisions.
And Audrey, any tips on how to make good decisions?
There are.
It's quite difficult, but you know.
It can be. The main thing is to learn from previous experiences. Don't wallow in a bad decision, but as long as you know that you've weighed up all the points, all the facts, and you made the best decision that you could at the time, given everything that you knew, what else could you be expected to do? And that's quite a reassuring thing, because as I say, life has a funny way of working, and we can't always predict how it's going to turn out. The second tip, and this is not to make you sound like a villain from a DC comic or anything like that, and I'm certainly not saying just make a decision based on the flip of a coin, but flipping a coin, when you know what's going to be heads and you know what's going to be tails, when you flip that coin, rather than looking at the outcome itself, you may feel, if you're quite aware of your sensations in your body and your desires, you may feel that you want it to land on one side more than another, and that's something that you can use to guide you. That can be quite important. And for the more rational side of things, a psychologist called Aronson said we should treat ourselves as lay scientists and look for something called the null hypothesis. Now, when it comes to making a decision, we often want it to go a certain way, which means that we find it very easy to find things to validate the direction we actually want to be choosing. What Aronson said is if we think more like scientists and say, well, these are all the arguments against it, rather than all the arguments for, and then argue for it, and we're still keen on that particular pathway, then that perhaps is the pathway for us.
Brilliant. Audrey, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you again next time.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, so now it's time to go over to Helena Chard with this week's A Helping of Happy. Welcome to the show, Helena.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
So what do we have in the news today?
Lots of fun things and interesting things. Beginning with, I'm going to start with a mother in Philadelphia who was in a slight dilemma to do with her daughter. But actually, it's quite a sweet story. Her daughter's only 7 and really was passionate to try something new. But I'm going to run into Michael Boone, who is a hairdresser, and well, we all know a good haircut can make you feel quite special. Yeah. And he feels it's great and also a gift as well that he gives to people, and it obviously gives them confidence and everything. and he's always giving back. He's been a hairdresser for 25 years, and he cuts. His main thing is that he teaches young men to be self-sufficient and cut their own hair and look smart and things. But he cuts homeless people's hair, children who are just going back to school, and various things. And a little girl called Naji Graham Henrys turned up with her brother, and they were in the salon, and he was talking about, you know, cutting hair. And her brother didn't want to do it, and it was a course, but she was really enthusiastic to do it, only 7 years old, pleaded with her mum. Yeah. And she thought, what do I do? Okay, she's enthusiastic, let's go for it. And she did the course, she passed with flying colours. Wow. She was the most enthusiastic, you know, attentive person. Yeah. And it opened his eyes as well, that's Boone's eyes to it. Anyway, so she also then decided she wanted to give back and went with him to school and cut something like 400 children's, I mean, obviously not on her own hair. And it's something she does all the time now. She's got her own clippers. But, you know, so she serves the community. She's 7, well, she's 8 now. Yeah, she serves the community. And he obviously now has started a junior barbers academy, which I think is quite clever, nice. Isn't it? It's very clever. Moving on to something completely different, but I think quite good to talk about, and there's a few little interesting things that have come out. So the loneliness experiment, which is very new, it's a nationwide survey conducted by BBC Radio and In the Mind collaboration with Wellness, and it's the largest loneliness survey to date, and it highlighted something which I found wasn't what I thought would be the case, that 16 to 24-year-olds are the loneliest age group. Wow. So I would have thought
it used to be the older generation, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And 55,000 people took part in it, which is very high. Wow, yeah. Yeah, because lots of people wanted to. And they talked about their personal experiences and loneliness and everything. But the researchers also found out that the loneliest tended to have more online friends, Facebook, as we know. There you go. And obviously that doesn't help with isolation, does it? At all. So quite interesting. And talking to a blogger who was 33 from London, who so outgoing, everyone thought she had it all. And she was just saying that she just feels so lonely, sad, left out, disconnected, no one to talk to. And just the smallest thing, like someone smiling, makes her day. So it's, but I think that's what comes out of it as well, that we should be kind to ourselves if we're feeling lonely, and also realise that, you know, just giving small little things to people would help. If we all be kind and give that just a smile a day, it makes a big difference. So acts of kindness, tiny acts of kindness. So it's quite an interesting thing. There's a lot more into it, but obviously I can't go into it now. Moving on to something which I found quite shocking, which is the anonymous phone apps used by school bullies to drive children to suicide. Just touching on it. So thank you to Jasmine Chester, who's 14, who talked about, she's from Grimsby, and talked about her situation. And the reason why she's talking about it is because she wants people to know. Yeah. So it's always good to talk. And she posted, I think, a post on Snapchat saying that she was feeling a bit down, and could people send us some nice messages. And somehow it came through, it's called Honest Feedback, that's an app, and apparently there's about 11 apps that people are using, so people can't trace them. And she just got bombarded with the most terrible messages, like telling her to kill herself, you know, just awful, not going into it. And very upset, but she did speak to her parents, which obviously is good. And now she's telling the world. But I mean, parents have no idea. I mean, I'd have no idea. How would you know as a parent?
I don't understand why these accounts are still open.
Oh, just horrible, isn't it? You know what's happened? We want children to be climbing trees, and teenagers to be climbing trees and running through the forest and doing the things we used to do. True. But it's a little bit of that actually. Duchess of Cambridge recently, I think it was yesterday, visited Sayerscroft Wildlife Garden and Forest School. So it's a recreation that's built for inner city schools. So children go in and they like run around in nature and they look for the bugs, and that's so good, isn't it? And it's really has a positive impact. I used to do as a child. I used to. Okay, it wasn't very nice. I used to get ants and throw them on spiders' webs just to see what would happen. I used to be outdoors a lot, climb trees. Me too. Climb poles as well, those metal poles. I used to climb those. Just kiddie stuff. Just lovely, isn't it? It's just really, and it's really good
social
fun.
Media
and it's you talk, you chat to people,
you exercise, and you
pick apples,
ride
you do
bike.
Anything, fall off your bike.
Fall off your bike,
just exciting. And I just wish children and older children and young people would enjoy it more. I know. And they can, can't they?
They can. It's never too late.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just ditch the phones.
Absolutely ditch the phones. I'm all for it.
Start a campaign.
I know, we should. Well, I think people do, don't they? So I've got quite a few other stories too, but I don't think we've got time.
Sorry, Helena.
That's okay.
We'll see you again next week. Maybe we can save it for next week.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So after the break, we have on Natalia Kotowska, who'll be taking us through this week's workout, and Dr. Rob Hicks answers your medical questions in this week's Doctor's Answers segment. And here's one of the questions we received. I eat well and take my vitamins, but I still always feel very weak and tired. Why could this be? Find out the answer after this. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, host of the UK's only TV programme dedicated to mental health and well-being, The Chrissy B Show, which airs on MyTV Sky 191 every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Follow our social media on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter at Chrissy B Show, and our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. For more information, visit chrissybshow.tv. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everybody, the show that loves to look after your mental health and well-being. So now it's time for Doctor's Answers with the wonderful Dr. Rob Hicks. Hello, Rob.
I'm stumped. The wonderful.
Well, you are, because you answer our questions so well every week.
I do my best.
We love having you on.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have some questions for you today, as usual. The first one, Rob, is what is fatty liver and how can it be prevented? Do organs need to lose weight too?
That's a really good question. Very good question. Well, this is one of the situations where it is what it says on the tin. So fatty liver is when you get a build-up of fat in the liver, and the liver shouldn't have any fat, or at least very, very little fat in it at all. But the reality is, here in the UK, around about 1 in 3 people will have early stages of fat collection within their liver. The majority of people who have this condition are actually overweight or obese, and what it causes is a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. For the most part, in the early stages, doesn't cause any problems whatsoever. But if the fat content builds up and it gets worse, then you're at risk of damaging the liver and developing very nasty condition, cirrhosis, which is where you get inflammation, you get irreversible scarring of the liver, it's cirrhotic, and then the liver stops functioning so well. So this is a relatively increasingly common condition. It is associated with people developing diabetes, high blood pressure, and strokes and heart disease as a consequence of that. So that's what fatty liver is. The risk of it, the people who are at risk, people who are obviously overweight and obese, as I've said, people over the age of 50, smokers, people who already have existing problems like high blood pressure, high cholesterol and diabetes, for example. So you can't, although you can't specifically treat it, it's important to make sure it doesn't get any worse. So the way to do that is, although there are not any specific medicines to treat the condition, a healthy lifestyle is beneficial. It's very helpful. So healthy diet, keeping to a healthy weight, regular exercise, treating the associated conditions, so like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, if you have them, with the relevant medicines and treatments is very important. And although the condition is not caused by alcohol, alcohol could make it worse. So the idea is, keep alcohol consumption to a minimum, or indeed cut it out completely. So that, sort of in a nutshell, is fatty liver.
Okay, wonderful. Next question. I've had stomach problems from when I was a baby. Now my doctor says because of all the medication and antibiotics they gave me, it's now made me unwell and that I will be on medication for the rest of my life. I'm confused because I was only taking what was prescribed by the doctors.
Yeah, this is a tricky one, isn't it? One of the things that I would want to, if you were my patient, I'd want to find out really is, what was the medical condition that you had that necessitated you having all the other medicines, the antibiotics? What do you mean by feeling unwell, and what medication are you being advised to have now as a consequence? The reality is that all medication comes with side effects, but in medicine, doctors only recommend medication when the benefits are believed to outweigh any risks. But I can really understand and I think it's very reasonable that you feel confused by this, and indeed you may well feel upset and very angry about it as well, because you've been doing what you were told, you had your medicines, and you've been left in a situation where you're feeling unwell and having to have other medication. So what I would urge you to do is actually have a conversation with your doctor and tell your doctor that you're confused about this, and allow your doctor to explain to you what's happened. So this will lessen your confusion. It will hopefully lessen any negative feelings you have about your situation. And don't be frightened to ask questions and to say, if you don't understand, ask them to repeat it or explain it in a different way. And if the way that you're feeling and your situation is mean that you're feeling anxious or depressed because of your circumstances, then raise this with the doctor so that actually you can be given the right sort of treatment. Because once you get an explanation, you'll feel more understanding about it, and hopefully you'll feel better off able to deal with the way that you're feeling.
Lovely. And last question for today, Rob. I eat well and take my vitamins, but I still always feel very weak and tired. Why could this be?
Lots of different reasons. Lots of different reasons. So let's start off with it could be down to lifestyle. You could be doing, eating the right thing, and you could be taking the vitamins you need. But maybe you're just really busy, or maybe you are not getting enough sleep, maybe you're not getting enough periods of relaxation, maybe you're having too much to drink from an alcohol perspective. I don't know if you might be using recreational drugs. Maybe there's something on your mind that's worrying you. So that's a sort of lifestyle approach to think about. Have you actually got an underlying medical condition which is causing you to feel tired and weak? So iron deficiency, anemia, diabetes, and underactive thyroid, for example. Is it an emotional problem? Because anxiety, stress and depression will make people feel very, very tired, and they'll make them feel physically weak, sometimes to the point you can't get up out of bed because you just feel so exhausted. So what I would urge you to do is have a checkup with your doctor, actually, to drill down to what the cause might be. And then, of course, once the diagnosis is made, any relevant treatment, appropriate treatment, can be recommended for you. And as a sort of closing remark, if you're taking any kind of medication at the moment, have a look at the list of possible side effects, because it could be that tiredness and sort of weakness or lack of energy is a side effect of those. If it is, please don't stop taking the medicine. Have a word with your doctor and see if there's a suitable alternative. And in the meantime, try and correct, make sure you get enough sleep, periods of relaxation, and make sure that actually you're not trying to burn the candle at both ends, which is often the underlying reason.
Brilliant, Rob. Thank you so much for answering the questions.
My pleasure.
And we shall see you again next week.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. So now, everybody, it's time to go to another aspect of health. This is a workout with Natalia Katowska.
Hey guys, it's me Natalia Katowska, and can do it with Nat, your fitness expert. And today we're going to concentrate on our upper body, mainly our biceps and triceps. We're going to do the exercise called the push-ups. I'll show you different variations, from the very easy, very basic one to more advanced one, so stay with me. First variation. So I want you to place your knees on the floor, on your mat, or wherever you are, carpet, mat, floor, whatever environment you're at, whatever is in front of you, everything is great, so no excuses. You go all the way low. Again, the same rules apply as with most of our exercises. Tuck your belly button in, engage your core, squeeze your glutes, use your legs. Hands, again, above your shoulders. You want to go all the way down, drop your chest, hands up, use your hands, push off your chest off the floor. And again, all the way down, up, down, up. Go for at least 10 in one go. If you can go more, go more. However, whatever you're gonna choose is going to be okay. So 10, 20, and then do a little bit of break. That's a very basic one. We're working our tricep and bicep mainly, so remember, I want to see those elbows in all the time, hands close to your chest, push, hop, push. Now, more advanced one is when you're not dropping that chest. So you go all the way down, push up, all the way down, push up. Remember, place your feet on the floor as well. have your knees nice and close together. So down, up. Go as low as you can. Breathe all the time. There you go. Now, more advanced one. If you want to go harder, there where the entire work starts. So we go. Feet a little bit wide. Again, we including our core. We want to squeeze our glutes, belly button in, and we go all the way down, push up. All the way down, push up. I have a problems with this one, so do not worry if you cannot get them. Start from the first one, go to the second one. If you can, progress to the third one. But do not stress yourself over that. Keep working with your own body and progress within the time. Thank you so much for today, and I will see you next time.
Thank you very much to Natalia there. Well, after the break, we have our nutritionist Severine Menem to talk about the top 5 healthy habits that you should adopt when deciding to take better care of your health. And she'll also be answering your nutritional questions, including this one. When you want to lose weight, what do you focus on? Fat, saturated fat, carbs, sugars, or calories? Find out what she has to say after this break.
Why do you come to schools instead of anywhere else to show about mental health?
Well, I think it's really, really important to actually bring these kind of things to schools, because I know nowadays there's a lot of children that are actually going through a lot of problems, and sometimes they feel that they shouldn't talk to people, that sometimes they're afraid to actually open up. We like to encourage students to open up if they are going through any problem, and let them know that it's okay to talk, that it's okay. If you're going through a problem, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's just to get the right help, that's all.
Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everyone. So now I have with me nutritionist Severine Menem to talk about her top 5 healthy habits that you should adopt when deciding to take better care of your health. Welcome to the show, Severine.
Hi, Chrissy.
With a lovely new haircut. I love it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So tell us, you have some tips for us, for those
Yes.
especially that want to make a few changes in their life.
Yeah, I know it's not easy to make changes in habits, but here are my 5 tips. The first one, I would look at hydration. Super important. When you hydrate better, you have more energy, you're not as hungry, and it starts a cascade of very good things. So make sure that you drink maybe a liter and a half of water, and cut down on coffee and tea and alcohol, because it's a diuretic.
Okay.
So that's the first one. The second one, we all know how bad junk food and processed food is. So cut down on that as well. And number 3, replace it with fresh food. So fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, we never eat enough of them. So that's a good thing. Next one is vary your food as much as possible. Sometimes I read a survey that said that 60% of Londoners are eating the same food every day of the week, like the same sandwich and the same drink, and we're like, oh my god.
That's so boring.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, vary, because the more you vary, the better it is for your body, and the better it is for your mind as well, because you will enjoy your food.
And that's to do with like colours of things as well, isn't it? Like
eat the rainbow, 5 a day, 10 a day. Yes,
Yeah.
if you can, that's amazing. And the very last one is get organized. There is this saying, you're failing to plan, you're planning to fail.
Yeah.
So what you can do is do some mini planning, even if it's just saying, this day I'm going to take that takeaway there, knowing which one is the healthiest option, or doing some batch cooking as well.
Yeah.
Or even, food delivery. Sometimes it really helps to stay on the right path.
Brilliant. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Severine.
You're welcome.
So now what are we making today and why?
Well, about good habits. Today we are, we're soon entering the winter or the autumn. I mean, the temperature is really bad.
Yeah.
So it's all about helping us stay healthy by boosting the immune system. So we're going to do golden milk.
Golden milk, okay.
Yes.
Sounds lovely.
Yes, it tastes delicious as well. So we're starting with some milk. So we can have either dairy milk or dairy-free milk. We chose almond milk today. So we can either pour everything into a hot milk or just cook the whole thing together. It depends, you know, how much, how convenient it is. So we're going to use some a lot of spices. We can have them as spices or actually roots. Like here we've got some ginger root, but we can use the ginger spice.
Okay.
And again, we have turmeric, but we could use the turmeric root and grate it.
Okay.
And all these three are...
And that one is?
Oh, this one, sorry, is cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper, okay.
Yes. So all these three are really good, or actually with black pepper as well, because they are antibacterial, antiviral, and so it's really good in winter. Either getting into winter or if you're feeling a bit of a cold, you know, you can always have that.
Okay.
So because they are super strong, if you're not sure, start with a tiny bit.
Okay. Right.
So I would advise to have a measuring spoon. So this is 1/4 of a teaspoon. So we're going to mix it in the teapot.
We've already got our hot milk in here, everybody,
Yes.
in case you're wondering.
So, oopsie. So I would say 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. Here we've got some French ginger. Love it. And cayenne pepper, it's super hot.
Right,
I don't know if do you like
I
it?
don't mind hot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
I tend to have hiccup when I have a...
Happens to my husband.
So I always take a tiny pinch because for me, I know it's
you're not living dangerously, Severin.
But if you like it, then have more,
Yeah.
obviously, and a bit of dark.
Now, I heard the black pepper actually brings out the goodness in the turmeric. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
There's always a good thing with mixing spices together.
Okay.
What is really good with cayenne pepper as well is it helps boost the blood circulation. So in winter we tend to get cold, so it helps the blood moving around the body.
Okay.
So that's really good. And because we want something a bit sweet, we tend to like that.
Yes.
We're going to add some honey. So I would probably put like a teaspoon. So another one. Like that. Honey is a really good antibacterial, antifungal, anti all the nasty from the winter.
all the nasty stuff.
You know, just having like a warm drink with a teaspoon 2 to 3 times a day can put you back on track like very easily. And this is this is not gin. Cinnamon. Yes, cinnamon helps with blood sugar regulation. So if you...
Is that the same when if you use the sticks? Because normally when I make tea, I put cinnamon sticks and cloves in there.
Yeah, but you do it the right way, you know, probably boiling it.
I'll
or...
just stick it in my cup.
Really?
Yeah.
The stick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I just.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's the Porsche way. Wow. Okay, and then you mix it, and then. So when you heat it up, it tends to dissolve better than when we're doing it like that. But I'm sure it will be as tasty and as good for.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay, shall we pour it then?
Yes, let's do that.
So you could, alternatively, you can just put all this on the stove and just, Okay, I am pouring the tea, everybody. Might be a bit lumpy because we haven't had time to kind of like, you know. That's the cinnamon coming out, isn't it? Let's pour a little bit. Okay.
Small whisk would have been nice.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know if you guys can see that on the, see that on the camera. Shall I tip it a bit more? If I do, it's going to spill. Should we taste it, Severine?
Yeah, let's do that.
You don't say cheers for tea, do you?
No, we could, but...
That is so nice.
I love it.
That is delicious. Delicious, everybody. And cosy.
Absolutely.
And not as many calories and stuff as the hot chocolates and things that you would buy outside.
Because it's all natural, hardly any calories, and only goodness. So.
Okay. Severine, before you go, I would like to ask you some of the viewer questions. Actually, you kind of answered this one, but I'll read it out anyway, just for the benefit of the viewer. So this person was asking, I hear so many different tips about how much water we're meant to drink. One place says 2 litres, but you only need to drink 1 as we get the rest from the food we eat. Another says only 1.5 litres a day. It's very confusing. What should we actually do?
I think we just should drink 1.5 litres of water. Everything else is usually dehydrating or mainly diuretic.
Okay, so it just disappears with...
It just drains the water out of the body, and we need a lot of water because we're mainly water.
All right, so 1.5 litres everybody.
Yeah.
And don't think it's going to come from your food too. Enough of
Well,
it.
it will come for the food, but we need on top of that. But
Yeah.
of course, it depends, of your height, of your weight, if you're pregnant or not, breastfeeding or not, if you're exercising a lot, about the weather. But I would say if you start with 1.5, that should be a good start.
Okay, cool. And one more question, Severine. When you want to lose weight, what do you focus on? Fat, saturated fat, carbs, sugars, or calories?
Okay.
Say none of the above, you're going to say.
Well, that's the thing, the viewer will be probably very disappointed, but I think when we want to lose weight, what we need to focus is on getting good habits.
Okay.
Setting new habits. And the 5 habits that I've mentioned at the beginning of the show, I think that's what we need to focus on, because then we will lose weight naturally. Whereas if you focus on some macronutrients, you will spend so much time weighing all your food and counting, and it will become very restrictive. We will only eat like a few food, and then you will give up after a while.
Okay, brilliant. Guys, this is so delicious. Thank you so much, Severine.
You're very welcome.
And we'll see you again next time.
Yeah.
And everybody, if you'd like more information about Severine, all you need to do is go to our website, chrissybshow.tv, scroll down and you can find her information there. And now it's time to go to my thought of the day. Thank you once again to all my guests today, our resident experts that we have on regularly, and also to our real life story, Nigel from Secret Hamper. I really, really enjoyed interviewing him today. And I also hope that you were able to gain some tips about decision making. What I'd like to focus on today actually is to do with once you have actually made a decision, because what happens many times is if you are faced with a decision between especially two things, you're not sure what to do, but then eventually you've weighed up the pros and cons and you've applied some of the things that we spoke about today and you make a decision. What can go wrong after that? What happens at times is that a person doesn't put their 100% into that decision because they're still thinking about the other possible decision and wondering in their mind, oh, should I have done that instead? Should I have gone there instead? Did I make the right decision? And then because they've got all those doubts and those questions, they don't actually focus on the decision that they've actually made and making it work. So as soon as, for example, if it's like a job that you decided to leave one job and start your business, for example, like Nigel did. But if things obviously are going to be difficult sometimes, and if as soon as you face those difficulties, then you're going to be like, oh, maybe I should have stayed in my job. Maybe I would have done better there. Have I made the right decision? Oh my God, I've made a mistake. If you're going to do that, the decision that you've actually made would probably end up being the wrong one. Not because it was a wrong decision in the first place, but because you've made it wrong, because you're not putting 100% into it. So bear that in mind. Once you have made a decision, stick to it and do your best with that decision that you've made. I'd also like to bring another angle to this as well. It could be, for example, if you make a decision regarding a relationship. And I was speaking to a couple recently. They've been married for about 40 years. But the problem is the husband was unfaithful to his wife years ago. I'm talking 30, maybe more years ago. However, she cannot let it go. She can't. She still brings it up every day. She really keeps going on about it. Of course, what he did was wrong. However, what I said to her was, you decided to stay with him. If it's that much of a problem, if you didn't want to, if this is what it's going to be like, why didn't you just divorce him and move on with your life? But you're making your life a misery and you're making his life a misery. So even with things like this, if, for example, there's something that happened in the relationship, there was infidelity, something happened, if you decide to stay with that person, then give the person a chance. Don't keep bringing up the past and making them pay for what they did, or else just make a clean break. If it's something that you really can't deal with, your trust was completely broken, you don't feel like you can trust that person again, then separate from them, divorce them and start again. But the fact is, if you decide to stay with someone, make it work. And this same thing could be applied to so many different things in your life. So just make sure once you have made a decision, do your best with that, whether it's in a relationship, a job, a business, anything else that you can think of. And that is more likely to work than if you keep thinking about the past. Well, everyone, if you have a story that you would like to share, please do get in touch with us by emailing us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet or Instagram us @ChrissyBShow or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about my life, my mental health journey, the problems I had in the past and how I beat them, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye-bye for now.